Hey guys, it's the Drag Detective, and here is part 2 of the rigging of season 12 video I did last week, where I'm going to go through the entire season, episode by episode, and I'm going to kind of break down how I think it would have gone if it was completely judged fairly, if there wasn't any favoritism, if there wasn't any rigging for any certain queen. And if you've been to my community tab, if you're subscribed to me, you'll see that I've put out some polls where I've been asking you guys how you thought the queens did on the season, how you think that the eliminated queens would have done in the challenges that they missed, and all of those poll results are in my Patreon, so you can go follow that if you want to see it. I have a $1 option where you can see the posts that I make, so check that out. And this is going to be kind of a hybrid of what you guys think and what I think, and most of the time we agree. There's a couple little instances where we disagree, and I'm going to explain why I chose to do what I did in this video, but for the most part, I think you guys are going to be agreeing with the outcome of this video. Hopefully this video is going to be shorter than the last one, because I kind of rambled on for a long time, but let's just get right into it. Episode 1, I'm That Bitch Rap Challenge. We only have Gigi Goode, Jackie Cox, Crystal Method, Widow Von Du, Heidi N Closet, Brita Filter, and Nikki Doll competing. And the way that I kind of made these first 2 episodes work was the top 2, then I had 2 high placements, and everyone else was low. This episode, there'll be 2 winners, the 2 high placements, and 3 people that are considered low. We 100% agreed on this. I think that top 2, Gigi Goode and Widow Von Du, which is exactly what we saw happen in the actual episode. And then we have Jackie Cox and Brita Filter as the 2 high queens. And this is, I based my ranking, and I asked you guys to rank it on the mini challenge where they had the spring and fall runways, along with I'm That Bitch, and then the sparkle runway. Yeah, no one goes home this episode. I think that this is exactly how the judging went in the actual episode, and I think that I said in my video that this episode wasn't rigged at all, so there should be no surprises here. But in episode 2, we have a little bit of a discrepancy from the actual season and this non-rigged season, where we have the top 2 being Jada Essence Hall and Jan Sport. And this was very apparent in the poll and in my own opinions. I definitely think Jan should have been top 2 here, especially bringing in the fall and spring runway mini challenge. Jan's looks were 50 billion times better than Shitty Pie's. But we do have Shitty Pie as getting a high placement here, along with Rock'em Sakura, who, based on the critiques in the actual episode, would have been low. But I guess the rest of us don't see fart humor as a big deal, especially when so many other queens do it on the show. So that leaves Aiden Zane and Dahlia Sin in the bottom 2. So the only real change here from the real episode is that Jan is top 2, and Aiden is on the lower end rather than Rock'em Sakura. So here's where the actual eliminations start. World's Worst, episode 3. As you can see in my video on the rigging of season 12, that this episode was complete bullshit. I don't know why Shitty Pie won. Here is also the first time where I'm going to disagree with you guys. You guys would have put Gigi as high. She did the 3rd best this episode. I'm going to give it to Widow, because Gigi just kind of slept for most of it. Whereas Widow had a full-fledged character, and I think she was really funny, and she was the one keeping her group afloat. So the top 3 this episode, Jackie Cox, Widow Von Du, and Heidi N Closet. But if this was your guys' video, it would have been Gigi Goode, Jackie Cox, and Heidi N Closet. The queens at the bottom for safe are in the order that you guys picked how well they did in the challenge. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, the bottom 3 stays the same. We have Dahlia Sin, Nikki Doll, and Crystal Method. And you also agreed with me that Crystal Method should have been in the bottom 2 with Dahlia Sin, leaving Nikki Doll as low. We also agreed the winner of the challenge was obviously Heidi N Closet. The bottom 2, we have Crystal Method, Dahlia Sin, lip-syncing to Problem by Ariana Grande. I don't think Crystal is the best lip-syncer, but she could have done better than what Dahlia did, so I think Crystal wins this lip-sync, sends Dahlia home. Dahlia still goes home first. Now we have episode 4, The Ball Ball, where, again, it's going to deviate from the real season. Top 3, as voted by myself and you guys, all agreed, Jada Essence Hall, Gigi Goode, and Nikki Doll. And the bottom 3 would be Brita Filter, Rock'em Sakura, and Aiden Zane. Now, those highs and lows were the same from the actual episode, but who ends up in the bottom and who gets the win here is much different. You guys and myself picked Jada Essence Hall to win this week, and you guys threw Aiden Zane in the bottom with Brita Filter, which I also fully agree with. Here, Gigi would not get her first win, and Aiden is in the bottom with Brita, which we do see in the actual season at Snatch Game. And we see that Aiden kind of sucked. So we have Brita Filter and Aiden Zane, and they lip sync to S&M by Rihanna, and I feel like it would be a cringe fest watching Aiden do this. No hate to Aiden, but yeah, Brita, come on. I think we get the same result here. Brita sends home Aiden just a little bit earlier in the season, and now we have Rock'em Sakura lasting longer than she did in the actual show, and I'm going to use my own personal opinion as well as your guys' opinions from the poll that I put out to kind of figure out how well she would do in these challenges. The first one being episode 5, Gay's Anatomy. The episode split it half and half, like they had a top 6 and then a bottom 5. For this chart, I'm just going to make it easy and just have like the top 3 and the bottom 3. The top 3 that you guys and I agreed on was Shitty Pie, Jan Sport, and Widow Von Du. As you know, in the original episode, Shitty Pie wins here, but you and I both agreed that it should have been Widow. Technically, like, the other highs for this episode would have been Gigi Good and Rock'em Sakura, but I just kind of put them as safe here. For the bottom 3, we have Crystal Method, Heidi in Closet, and Nikki Doll. Now, Brita Filter and Jada Essence Hall also were in this kind of bottom tier, but I put them as safe, and you guys agreed that they were safe. Heidi in Closet and Nikki Doll, just like they did in the season, they lip-synced to Hard to Break by Kim Petras, and Heidi wins. I think Crystal Method gets saved here because of her runway. You guys agreed. I think Heidi, we see what happens in this episode. Heidi sends home Nikki. Nikki still goes home third in this episode. Just a different winner. So basically both of Shitty Pie's wins were given to someone else, which I'm cool with. So moving on. Episode 6, we have Snatch Game. This one also deviates from this. Everything deviates from the show, basically. But top 3 stays the same. Jackie Cox, Gigi Good, and Shitty Pie. Bottom 3, I would put, and you guys didn't, I'm going to go into my reasoning why. I think Rock'em Sakura wouldn't do well in Snatch Game. I think she's a kind of frenetic queen. Her comedy goes all over the place. And I do think that there's a shot that she could do well, but at this point, her anxiety and her mental health were not in a good place. As much as I love Rock'em Sakura, I don't see her shining in Snatch Game. You guys disagree with me, and I'd love to hear your opinions why. If you think Rock would do well, make me a Rock'em Sakura Snatch Game believer, because right now I'm not. So I threw her in the bottom 2 here with Brita Filter. Crystal Method stays just low, again, for her runway. You guys gave Gigi Good the win here. I gave it to Jackie Cox. Like I said, I think it's just based on preference, and I think Gigi's runway was basic, and I think Jackie's runway was the best runway that she had, or one of the best of the season. So I gave it to Jackie for that reason, but I mean, I could see Gigi getting it, and I wouldn't be mad. So then we have Brita Filter and Rock'em Sakura in the bottom 2, and we saw exactly how that worked when they lip-synced in the actual show. The only difference is that this time they'd be lip-syncing to a ballad, Let It Go, and Brita had the fire trick. She served that song perfectly. I don't think Rock'em could do better than that. So I promise you guys, I love Rock'em Sakura, but I just don't see this being her episode. So I do see her going home here. Now, the Madonna Roosevelt, this is going to be kind of a overhaul of this original episode. Top 3, Jada Essence Hall, Gigi Good, and Jan Sport. Bottom 3, Jackie Cox, Heidi in Closet, and Shitty Pie. Now, you guys put Brita Filter as the worst in this challenge. And I implore you to go watch her performance of it again. Just watch her. She does the funny voice. I think she sounds really well. She makes the dance moves. Was it like groundbreaking? No, but I don't think it was near the worst. I think it was the definition of safe. And her runway, I think, was pretty good. So I put Brita Filter as safe here. You guys, for whatever reason, really, really think she was like the dead last worst in this episode, and I don't see it. So again, in the comments, make me a believer. Why is Brita Filter stuck in this challenge? But for now, I put her as safe. And I put Shitty Pie as low, and you guys put her as fourth to last, I think. But the kind of like a Thorgy Thor moment, she had nothing to work with. Based on what we saw, apparently they cut some of her song, but from what I saw, it was kind of boring. And her runway was like, it was fine. You guys gave Jan the win here. I'm giving Jan the win here. Jan has her first win here for the Madonna Roosevelt. And I thought the worst of the week was Jackie Cox, because she had such an iconic Madonna moment, the Like a Virgin wedding dress at the VMAs, and she just didn't sell it to me at all, because Madonna was literally humping the ground like sex symbol. It was a really big flop for me. It was really cringy, honestly. So I put Jackie in the bottom here with Heidi in closet because of Heidi's runway. And I think this would be the double Chante. I think that Jackie and Heidi doing Burnin' Up, Jackie could have done her comedy like she did with Kill the Lights. Maybe not the same exact thing, but another kind of comedic lip sync. And we saw Heidi kill this lip sync. So I think this would have been the double Chante. They obviously really liked Jackie. They loved Heidi. I don't see either of them going home this early. So no one goes home this week. And Jan gets her first win. Now for Droop. This is another one that was completely different from the episode. In the episode, they had 4 tops and 4 bottoms, but that's because they had 8 people. We have 9 people here. So I'm just going to do it as 3 highs and 3 lows like they usually do when there's 9 people. So I think that, Jan, Gigi, Jada, they were all pretty safe. You guys ranked them as the kind of middle of the pack. And then the bottom 3 were Widow Von Du, Shitty Pie, and Brita Filter. And the top 3 were Jackie Cox, Crystal Method, and Heidi in Closet. Now, for the win this week, we all agreed it was Heidi, as she did in the actual episode. And the bottom 2 were Widow Von Du, who I just don't think really got the challenge. Her commercial, I think, was the worst that we saw. But also, we saw Brita Filter is still in this episode. I don't see her giving us something that funny. Unfortunately, Brita was not at her, iconic levels that she is known for in New York this season, so I just don't see her delivering something that good here. Brita is in the bottom with Widow, and I think Widow sends Brita home, because this would be Brita's 3rd time in the bottom, and this would be Widow's 1st. And also, we saw Widow completely destroy this lip sync to This Is My Night by Shaka Khan. So I do think it would be a good lip sync. I do think Brita could serve this too, but I think that no one in the bottom with Widow here stood a chance. So Brita Filter still goes home in 9th place, but she does last an episode further. Choices 2020. Okay, this was bullshit. We all know it was. So we have a top 4 and a bottom 4. So top 4, we have Jada Essence Hall, Crystal Method, Widow Von Du, and Heidi in Closet. And we all know Widow went home this episode, but you guys and I agreed Widow deserved to be in the top. And then the bottom 4 being Gigi Good, Jackie Cox, Shitty Pie, as well as Jan Sport. I could see Jan kind of doing good here, but I also see her kind of doing the Jackie thing where she does the same joke over and over. Jan did good in the improv challenge. She did fine in Snatch Game. And she's a host for most of her drag shows. That's what she does. She hosts. I could see her doing okay, but I'm going to put her as low here. I don't have that much faith in that she would do well. And you guys agreed. You said you thought that she would be low here, so. But bottom 2, Gigi Good and Shitty Pie, who completely flopped and somehow were both not in the bottom this episode. And the lip sync is to Firework. I don't think Shitty's that good of a lip syncer, and I don't think Gigi Good is that good of a lip syncer either, but I do think that Gigi Good would win this. I think she could do some of her funny stuff, or maybe just serve a empowering lip sync. I don't know, but I see her beating Shitty no problem, and it also gets Shitty out of this whole thing quicker. So Shitty Pie goes home here, which should have happened in the show, right? She should have went home here anyway. And now we have the top 7 at the Makeover. And this is really easy to kind of determine how people would do, because a lot of the queens that are here, like Widow and Jan Sport, they both released their makeover looks. Widow's was, I don't know, it's really bad. I don't know what this is, guys. It's not good. Yeah, no, that's really ugly. Love Widow, but that's really ugly. And Jan Sport's, it was kind of a basic look, but the makeup that she did on EJ was iconic. So I think that Jan would be high, along with Jada and Gigi and Crystal. And I think that Widow would be low with Heidi in Closet and Jackie Cox. Now, in the original episode, we have Jada winning and Jackie and Heidi being in the bottom. Here, I think Jackie's was better than Widow's, so I'm going to put Widow in the bottom with Heidi. And I think that we all agreed Crystal should have won this episode. Kill the Lights, Widow versus Heidi. This also, if there wasn't the double Chante and the Madonna, this I could see being a double Chante. But this is also Heidi's third time in the bottom, and this is Widow's second. And I don't know, I just see Widow slaying this. Like, Heidi did really, really well, but she also did a lot of the moves that we'd seen her do before. There was a couple new things that she brought in, but a lot of it we'd kind of seen before. Whereas Widow, I think this is a very different song from This Is My Night, which she lip-synced to 2 episodes earlier. So I think Widow going, like, ham on this would be great, and I think that she could kind of edge out Heidi. So unfortunately, I think Heidi would go home here. Like I said, if there wasn't a double Chante earlier, this could also be one. Okay, top 6, one-woman show. This was a very split opinion for you guys, how people would have done in this, because we have Widow here and we have Jan here, who weren't in the episode. And also, when I asked you guys to rank the performances that we actually saw in the show, they were kind of all over the place. So I think that everyone agrees that Jan Sport, Jackie Cox, and Crystal Method would be top 3. But about a third of you agreed that with what I'm about to do, which is giving Jan Sport the win. And here's why I'm going to do that. We know she can do improv. We know that she does her own woman shows constantly. That's what she does. She does one-woman shows. She also hosts constantly. That's her gig. If she can bring some singing into it, I think that it's, like, perfect for her. And all she has to do is beat Crystal's, which, with what was there in the original episode, Crystal obviously won, in my opinion. But I think that Jan could beat, I don't remember the stripper's name, Dirty Phil, or what is it, something Filthy Phil? I think that Jan could beat them. I'm going to give Jan the win here. And then we have the bottom 3 of Jada Essence Hall, Gigi Good, and Widow Von Du. I think Jada is going to be the worst regardless. And I think that it's between Widow and Gigi who's going to be in the bottom. Gigi didn't do that bad. She had a couple little, like, hiccups, a couple little awkward moments. But for the most part, I think that she did really, really well. And it was a smart routine. Widow, what would Widow do? I don't know. Widow is just kind of naturally funny, but we also know that she's been kind of self-sabotaging at this point in the season. Do I think that Widow could do a better job than Gigi? I want her to, but I don't think that she can. Let me know what you guys think. I went back and forth with this. I think Widow either, like, slays this challenge or she doesn't, and I see her not doing it, but I really did go back and forth with this. Like, do I put Gigi in the bottom or do I put Widow in the bottom? And it just came down to, I don't think Gigi did that bad at all. I think she did pretty good. My gut's telling me that Widow would not do as good as Gigi. So we have Jada and Widow in the bottom. 1999 by Prince. Jada killed this lip sync. I also think Widow would absolutely slay this lip sync. This could also be a double Chante. But I do think Widow would go home here. Obviously, Jada has won 3 challenges, and this is her first time in the bottom. And Widow, this is her 3rd time in the bottom. So then we have our top 5 going into the Vegas episode. So we have Jada Essence Hall, Gigi Good, Jackie Cox, Jan Sport, and Crystal Method. And we just have Jan Sport here swapped out for Shitty Pie, which I think we all like wanted to happen anyway. I'm not going to give a win here because they normally don't, and I think that was kind of rigging it for Gigi a little bit. So there's no win, but I do think that Jada, Gigi, and Jan would do the best. This is hard to judge, even just watching the version that was on the show, because everyone did good, except for Shitty Pie, but here, Shitty Pie's not here. So I think that bringing it to track record kind of does make sense, and at this point, Jackie and Crystal have the worst track records. Jackie versus Crystal, lip syncing to On the Floor by Jennifer Lopez, and Jackie won this lip sync, but we won't talk about that. I'm sending Crystal home here. I think that it was a valiant effort, but she just reused a lot of the same moves from the previous episode, whereas Jackie was kind of doing something we hadn't seen from her yet in her lip syncs. I think we all kind of agree Jackie won that lip sync, so Jackie makes it to top 4, and Crystal goes home at the top 5. Now, okay, we have our top 4. Jada Essence Hall, Gigi Good, Jackie Cox, and Jan Sport. Now, I was thinking, like, okay, what if it was a lip sync for the crown? Jada wins no matter what at that point. But it wasn't. It was a quarantine. That has nothing to do with it being rigged. So we're going to have the quarantine finale. And the only person that I see really putting up a fight here against Jada is Jan Sport. I think that, she has her whole pop star thing. She could put on some pretty cool stuff. Gigi Good, I think, was kind of disqualified from winning at that point because they almost disqualified her from the entire episode. And I don't think Jackie Cox would do great. I don't think she would do bad. I just don't see her doing, like, especially in that final lip sync to Survivor, I don't see anybody beating Jada to that. Jada really did such a good job. And if they do go down to a final 2, which I think that if they had 4 people, they would for that final lip sync, I see it being Jada and Jan, and then Jada beats Jan in that lip sync. Maybe Jackie's theater background can, like, she could do something fun for her solo song, but I just see Jan doing, like, something big. She's, you know, extra as hell. I see her doing some kind of huge production from her living room. So that is how season 12 would have went if it was not rigged, if it was judged fairly. I tried to not go into too much detail here because, like, all of the detail was in the last episode. So if you haven't seen that, go watch my video here. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm doing better about my Patreon. I'm getting some videos ready for that, some Patreon-only stuff. And I am going to be putting some stuff up there for this month. I have $1, $3, and $5 options, so it's not like breaking anyone's bank. So check it out if you want, but don't feel any pressure to. And make sure you are subscribed so that you can see whenever I put up a poll, because I'm going to be putting those up. You guys seem to like them. 100% of you from the poll said you wanted to have more, so I'm going to keep doing those. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and wear a damn mask. Now, I'm going to go solve the mystery of why the fuck they thought we would like shitty pie. So, I'm going to go work on that. I'll see you guys later.